What's going on? Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the South Star Classroom, episode 196. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? It's
Yeah.
crazy. Um, we already got Bill Conrad. We got Alonzo in the chat. What's going on? This is definitely going to be like we
What
want to
up? What
hear
up?
from you all today on our topic once we get into it. But let's start out with some check-ins. It's summertime. I know Omar's probably ramping to get back into starting their school year, and just want to check in and see how everybody's is faring. We've had a couple of significant um, people that have departed. Right, the Malcolm Jamal Warner. Today
Yeah.
we got news of Ozzy Osbourne, right?
Yeah.
So
And it
stuff's
comes in
going.
threes, so brace yourself.
Yeah, we're ready. Right. That's exactly right, man. I saw Malcolm
Ugh.
and I was like, oh man, there are gonna be two more. And then Ozzy hit real quick last night.
That's right. They do come in threes. Wow.
Yeah, man.
All right. Well, how y'all doing?
Well, I'll start. I'm doing well. I mean,
Yeah.
also a quick story about Malcolm Jamal Warner. I went viral a few years ago. My parents did when they graduated, and it was a big thing. Malcolm Jamal Warner was one of the first people to like personally comment on this thing. Don't know him or whatever. He just be supporting Black people doing dope stuff. And my parents graduated. It made it to like this video and Good Morning America, but he was the first
Wow.
big dude. Yeah, he's probably part of the reason that it did. So, and I hear some people being foolish saying, well, because it's tied to the Cosby Show, and Cosby, man, bump all that, man. Cosby Show, regardless how you feel about that man, Cosby Show is still one of the most revolutionary television shows of all time. And Theo Huxtable, and the relationship between Theo Huxtable and Cliff Huxtable, man, is something that should be studied and revered. So rest in peace, Malcolm Jamal Warner.
Yeah.
I'm with that.
Yeah.
I'm with that,
Anything
man.
else, Charles?
I
Okay,
was
go ahead,
more
Omar.
of a Martin fan myself, but
I love
did
Martin
enjoy.
We can have more than one classic.
Actually, man, sadly, we were just having this conversation we're doing our professional development for all of our teachers this week. We call it the Summer of Academic Revolution, SOAR. And so we're grinding hard from like 5 a.m. all the way to 5 p.m. So I'm tired. Took a little reprieve to do the show. But I was talking to one of the principals at this professional development. He's doing the principal of the East Side. And I brought up, the finger man. I was like, 1, 2, 4, 5, algebra. And he had no idea what the hell I was talking about. I was like,
Oh,
Jaime
come on.
Escalante? Like, he's like, and I was like, wait, you haven't seen that? And I was like, bro, we only have 5 movies. So, yes, Charles, you can have The Cosby Show, and you can have In Living Color, and you can have Lean on Me, where my man was just yelling at poor fat Smalls the entire time. But us, we had 5, brother. Right, David? We had like La Bamba. We had Stand and Deliver. We had Blood In, Blood Out, American Me, and Selena. There was this 5, man, and like it's all we had. And I was like,
Born in East LA.
Oh, there it is, Born in East LA. Yeah, I mean, all the Cheech and Chong movies. Although the Cheech and Chongs were kind of the '70s, so it kind of hit a bit of a different generation. So Born in East LA was more of our generation. There you go, 6, brother. I appreciate that. You had never seen Stand and Deliver. I was like, we have 6. So I am both tired and surprised that a fellow Chicano has not seen Stand and Deliver. And I was like, Blood In, Blood Out? He's like, I think I saw that on a flight. And I was like, they were showing that on a plane?
He didn't see it on a flight. That was not on a flight, dude.
If they don't count Boys in the Hood and all the hood gangster movies, then y'all got to add Colors, which kind of crosses both. Like,
Ice-T, man. Colors, yeah. Robert Duvall, Sean Penn. Dude, Colors are a great movie. It was nuts, man.
It's a crazy movie.
Uzis and shit.
But like I said, if we count Menace to Society and Boys in the Hood on the black side, then Colors is absolutely...
Man. John Singleton.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, man. Cool. And I wonder if my affinity for Black culture, deep, man.
I feel like Black people stole Selena, so take whatever you want, bro. It's like
Oh, I ain't stealing shit.
Black people love Selena.
Get out of it.
It's like up there. It's like Color Purple and Selena. It just happened. I don't know how. And then
I like it. Hey
and
man, I
then
got
through
no.
her, it was Jennifer Lopez, and we fell in love with her for multiple reasons.
I
She
got all
started
the
on
love
living
in the world for
in a
that.
living color, but like, yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, Fly Girl. Yeah, I just think because we only had six that I was like, I gravitated towards all the black films and all of like black culture. And I was like, ooh, I feel this. This is what I like. Inclusive of all the shows back in the day, man. Like, what would not What's Up With That? That's a Saturday Night Live skit. Um, shit, I'll think of it in a second, man. I want some crazy ass shows back in the day. All right. Uh, Dave, how are you, man? I'm
Yeah,
sitting here
yeah.
getting carried away in the beauty of black
Yeah.
culture.
Um, yeah, we are good. We haven't started school yet, but my son hasn't. But tomorrow he starts what's called percussion camp. He's going to do band this
Mm,
year, and so they
cool.
start them out like about 2.5 weeks early with a couple like a mini like session for instruments in particular, and then they do like the 2 week long band camp, which sounds like it's pretty rigorous. They like the kids run in the morning and they do all kinds of stuff. So uh, it should be interesting. But yeah, we're kind of. He told me today. He's like, yeah, I think I feel like I'm starting school early, and I'm like, you are,
Yeah.
So
Super.
other than
This is
that,
starting September, man. This
I
is
know,
crazy.
man. It's
Yeah.
wild.
Remember? Yeah, man.
But
Dude, we're
if you
starting next week, which I think is like fucking July, man. Like,
yeah,
July 28th is the kid's first day. I'm like,
That's
July.
crazy.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
is. It's nuts, man.
he's at that interesting age where uh, he's like too old for camps and too young to work.
Hmm.
So it's we kind of have to like we're very hands on
Wait,
again.
how old is he?
15.
He ain't too old. He ain't too young to work around a house.
Oh no, he does that, but
No, I know
we have
what
to
you
like
mean.
supervise that and all that. I'm like, go somewhere else and work.
And David, I know you got to get the show started, but you were there. I was a student when we introduced year-round school in Oakland, the 3 months on, 1 month off, different tracks. What do you have any? What was that like? And it didn't last very long, but why was that? Do you remember?
I mean, it's actually goes back to the time when I was in school. Like my elementary school, way back in the Barney Rubble days, was
Yeah, man.
not
Way
year
back when you had that
round,
red and black lumberjack.
but there was another sister school that we had. I remember where some of my other friends went, and they did year round. I think that was like the start of year round in
Yeah,
like the 80s.
yeah, yeah.
And I think it was a couple of things. I think it was a little bit more better for like working families, right? Where you didn't have this like big, massive break. And I think there was probably some science and research that went into it that said that like kids should, it's better to get like smaller breaks as opposed to one big break because of what they call like, what do they call it? Like when you're
Summer
learning,
slump.
not learning. Yeah. Summer
Summer
slump.
slump.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like the first couple of weeks of school, you're kind of having to do all this like re-education about like basic things because kids have been out for so long. So I think it was some of that stuff, Charles.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, man. And that show was Give Me a Break.
Got you.
Remember that one, Charles? Give Me a
I
Break.
do remember. I remember. Give Me a Break. It's a whole bunch of shows. Let David get into your show. Get into your episode, David. Sorry,
Yeah.
man.
No
You
problem.
can't let us.
I ain't sorry, man. Especially with Doc looking smooth as hell with those glasses and that hat, man.
Oh,
He looking
yeah.
like he should be on a show today.
I was
man.
outside.
Yeah, Dave. I'm
Yeah.
gonna shut up,
So let's
man.
get into it.
Go
So
for
so today we are the topic of today's show. Let me get the banner up here real quick. So it's
A
interesting.
big, beautiful bill, baby.
Yeah, so there's so much going on, and like it feels like politics is moving so quickly, and so we just had this big, beautiful bill, right? Everybody's heard about it. It kind of went back and forth. It got changed. It got edited. It got whatever negotiated, but it finally got passed, and it got signed by Trump. It got passed in the Senate and the House by like a 1 vote margin, right? This
Yeah.
thing is like right on the borderline. I don't know if you call that like democracy or
The whip
whatever,
got to win. Whoever was doing.
Yeah,
Whoever's whipping votes
whoever's
got their
whipping
number.
votes.
So it's a very big bill. We're not going to talk about all of the parts of the bill. I'm sure other parts of the bill are related, but there's um, there's language incorporated into the bill that has to do with school choice, and so that's kind of this is the first time we've seen like a big national push. We've talked about it on the show where we've seen this campaign to go to like state houses and red states, and it's already obviously like I think Texas is one of the states, Florida. There are a couple of other red states that have similar legislation already on the books. Um, and so this is the first attempt at a national school choice bill. Um, and historically, I've been very like weary and leery of things like this. Like, there's not a whole lot of accountability attached to these dollars. But at the end of the day, I think if we can get more kids into schools, whatever kind of schools they are, that are a better fit for them, I think society as a whole, might be better off. But there are some definite issues with the bill, which we'll get into. So it's the first ever nationwide K-12 private school scholarship tax credit. Okay. And I'll kind of explain what that means. We'll get into it here. What does this bill, what does the education school choice portion of the bill do? It creates a federal tax credit program that rewards individuals and or corporations, right? This is not public money, that donate to what's called SGOs, scholarship granting organizations. I didn't know this, but now I'm learning it, right? So it's a kind of entity. It's an organization that takes mainly, private money basically from individuals and corporate donors, and then those dollars are then turned around and given out as scholarships for students to attend private school, homeschool, tutoring, special education services of their choice. If you're a donor, you receive a dollar for dollar federal tax credit up to $5,000. So it makes it somewhat attractive for people to support private education rather than fund public programs. Here's one of the kickers, right? You would think it's essentially a school choice like private scholarship program. And when we think of like scholarships, we think of generally low income kids. But in the interesting thing in this bill is that they raised the median income. So you think about a family that lives in like Nashville, Tennessee, right? What do you think the cap is? Like what household earnings, annual earnings, to be eligible to receive this money?
Say that one more time.
So if you're a family living, let's say, for example, in Nashville,
Family of
Tennessee,
four, right?
family, yeah, and what is the ceiling? Like, what is the limit at which if you go above this number, you're not eligible. So what is the cap? What do you think the cap is?
I don't know.
Well,
Like,
I think your thing said your data said 300 grand, right? Or no, but
Yeah, it's like
or
over
more.
it's more than it's. I think in that particular case, it's like
what a guess,
350
like
or
150.
360. That's a lot of money, right? Especially,
Yeah.
I mean, for
It's a ton of money.
it's a lot of money. So essentially, what this is doing is it's opening the door for not public but private dollars going to no longer like low income families. Now we're talking middle, even probably upper middle class families, right? So questions about equity. Let's see what else. The bill does a couple of other things. I think the other most important part is that it's a federal bill, and so it doesn't go into effect until 2027, I think.
Oh.
Um, States have to opt into it, right? So it's not automatic. It's not imposed on the states, but we're likely to see, majority of red states opt in. I don't think California would ever opt into a bill like this. So I think of all the kids that are like, literally trapped in public failing schools in, California, and this is like, potentially a lifeline for them. Probably will not have access to it. States like New York, states like Massachusetts, but I think we'll see what happens. But again, it's a federal program. It's a federal bill, but the states have to opt in to access these benefits. So I'll stop there. I want to hear what have you all, did you know about this, this component of the big, beautiful bill?
Well, I
Have you
mean,
heard about it?
I know about the bill. I knew there was some changes happening. I have not dove back into it until you sent over the notes for today. I think, I'm a little trumped out right now and politics out, but I get it because it's like very fresh off the presses, hot off the presses. I think, there's a lot of thoughts. I mean, again, I say this all the time, and Omar and I said this a lot before the election. Elections have consequences. They have consequences, and he is doing and trying to serve his base. And I think he's actually going a little harder now on this because he needs those wins because his base is on his head about the Epstein stuff. And he's trying to find a way to squirrel out of that, but I think he's going to lean in. He knows he has this school choice crowd, so it's like, let me double down here. And I think you as a consumer at home, even if it's a piece of legislation that you don't like and that's not just, it may not have equity pieces in it, you still need to know it and still need to know, how to navigate it because it's going to impact you. I think that people that make a decent sum of money are probably going to be happy about it, that they get, and it's not just a tax credit for those that are listening, it's a one-to-one tax credit, meaning usually most tax credits, like if I donate X amount of dollars to a nonprofit, it's not a one-to-one credit that I might get. So, I think that that's really interesting. And I think the people that are fearful of public education being defunded or things of that nature, this allows for public funds to, in some part or way, support private entities. They're finding a way to kind of circumvent and funnel public dollars to serve in different ways, and not just for poor people, but also for those that are wealthy. So people on his face, I think as somebody on his face that believes that people should be able to choose whatever type of education they want, like if I'm looking at it in the out here in the ether, it's like, okay, there are some wins here. But if I'm also somebody that pays really close attention to a larger plan and resources are scarce and limited, it seems as if there's a lot of public dollars that are going to support private things. And if there's a pot of money and that money can run out, I think that the people that benefit are going to be those that already have money and funds and access.
Yeah, I mean, this hits like four nerves for me. Just trying to write them down. The first one was, if you look at Project 2025 and everyone talks about it and everyone's like, hey man, like for our audience, hey man, just have AI do a quick summary of Project 2025. It's going to baffle your mind. This is real. And, I think back to like Jeff Sessions and who was Attorney General during the first Trump administration, who kind of looks like one of those little people from Wizard of Oz and shit. And his buddy, Steve Bannon, when they were incorporated into writing all this stuff for Project 2025, this is really about like taking public money to privatize things. Let's get rid of things within the public sector. Let's privatize it all, because if we privatize it, there's A, control, it's out of the public sector, and B, there's monetization and profit that comes from it. So Doc and I have talked about this one a lot. What's going to happen is that you start playing with this privatization and you've got yourself a nice little Supreme Court that's going to agree with it. Now you've got a Supreme Court precedent that allows for the privatization of public entities. So you poke the bear, if you will, and now you've got the bear spray in the Supreme Court to allow it. And I think this is the insidious nature of what's going on. This isn't just some like haphazard asshole going out and calling out, Stephen Colbert and trying to fire Stephen Colbert. And I think that Stewart and Colbert and a bunch of other folks are like, you're on to something. What are you trying to distract us from? And I think this is part of that distraction. Because I don't think this is conspiracy driven. I was just looking up right now that Linda WWE McMahon. Let us not forget, ladies and gentlemen, that she is the wife of the rapist who owns the
Really?
alleged rapist,
Oh
excuse
my,
me, who owns the
Woo!
WWE.
Jesus.
Yeah, man, he's in some deep shit. Him and his boy, that big ass wrestler, not Braun Strowman, Brock Lesnar, with some major lawsuits. And anyways,
It's a lot happening
her,
today, y'all.
yeah, man, a ton,
I'm
man. Look,
telling you,
hey, man,
man.
these
It's a
are
lot
real.
happening.
This is real. Look it up, man. I'm not making shit up. And
Yeah,
what's going on is that she just decided to suspend. Doc, you read this? She suspended the income-based
yeah,
retainment plan, which is something, by the way, that I was a direct beneficiary of. So if
Yeah.
y'all don't know what it is, IBR, if you take on college and grad school debt, which I did to a high level extent, but you work 10 years in the public sector, that gets forgiven. The idea is to incentivize and say, hey, Omar, we know you can make quadruple 5 times in the private sector, but this is to
right.
give you an incentive to work for the public good. And it did. And it was a major use for me to a major vehicle for me to alleviate all that debt. So you get rid of that. This is just another domino to be like, hey, let's get rid of
Yeah.
public sector. Let's get rid of the public. Let's privatize the whole thing. And I'm just like, oh
It's
shit.
a slow burn, like a slow erosion, right?
Yeah. And I mean,
I
I don't
think,
know if it's that slow. Like, I'm
yeah,
like, holy
yeah.
crap, you guys are
Well, I
laying
mean,
this one on thick right now.
it's interesting because, like technically speaking, this bill does not provide federal tax dollars directly to schools, right? They're using the angle of the tax credit, right?
Mhm.
So it's kind of it's almost like a Trojan horse where they're setting it up. People are probably going to like it. They know that it maybe going forward it can't be always relied upon for for private individual or corporate donors to fund this, and so then the next iteration will be like probably federal tax dollars directly to help pay for tuition. Um, so yeah, and a lot has happened today. I mean, you're right. I mean, they just sent Congress home, right? On an early break to you know, let the Epstein thing kind of cool down. But we're not going to talk about that right now.
Well, that's not going anywhere, and that's his base.
Right.
They're not letting that up. They're not letting up on that.
So
Yeah.
regarding this program, I mean, knowing what we know about it, let's say, and probably fair to assume that like a majority of blue states won't sign on. Most red states will. Some in the
Yep.
middle might cross. I mean,
Which is like
do you think?
ironic too.
Yeah, do you think this kind of a program will meet its intended purpose to expand education access, or do you feel like it'll just be a shortcut, like Bill said, the rich get richer for wealthy families to access these dollars, because that's what they're always trying to do, right? That's how you build wealth is like you're
Yeah.
smart with your money. And if so, if you can leverage some of this funding, then that money that you were going to use to educate your 3 or 4 children in private school, you can
hmm
invest somewhere else, right? And so, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it will on it. It can on. I think it can on an individual level, but not on a mass level. And what I mean by that is there will be people who will be savvy who live in certain
Yeah.
places, and they'll have help from people like us or people like me because I'm gonna learn
Yep.
everything I can and help families try to navigate what the new reality is going to be. And I want to make sure they're able to take advantage of the things that are there for them. But I think in the aggregate, I don't. I think it will benefit the people that it's meant to benefit, and I think that that's wealthy people. I think it's people that don't really agree or like public education. I think it's people that are already utilizing private education or parochial schools and want to be able to get a tax, want to be able to benefit from it in a different way. But again, and I think people when I answer these things, I'm very honest. Like I stand to lose a lot in this administration. I owe well into 6 figures in student loans. I'm getting all the letters that shit is starting back up. If IBR does leave, that can really hurt in a lot of ways because let's not even talk about the 10-year, forgiveness joint, which is probably which is gone and they deemed it unconstitutional. It was also really difficult and convoluted to get. I wasn't able to make it happen, but some of my friends did. the IBR also protects your salary. It also protects like, on a cap, and then that's probably going to go away. So poor people or people that made these decisions with these understandings and with these incentives to go into public life after education, to give back, this is going to be paid for on the backs of those people in a lot of different ways. So, when I say, or I'm annoyed with my own party, or I'm pushing the Democrats, or I'm saying, yo, let's do this the right way, it's not because I don't like that other side, but I can see the writing on the wall. And this dude has a mandate. I know people are like, he's operating in that mandate, and he's going to really do it now with this Epstein stuff, like up right there. So I'm not surprised by what Miss McMahon does at all, because they told us what they wanted to do. They've been trying to close this joint since Reagan. Like, and I can't for the life of me keep looking at people on my side be surprised that these things are happening. Like, they're doing what they do, and so I can complain about it, and I'm upset about it and annoyed, but I get more annoyed with my own side and my own team, because we bitching, but it's like, what's the plan? Like, what's the plan to protect these things? But we got a lot of people on our side that's gonna make a lot of money by just going at these people every day, but they're gonna be fine. But a lot of people won't be.
Look at Bill Conrad in the comments.
Yeah, man, we miss Bill, man. We miss Bill. I love having Bill
little
back,
baby,
man.
little
It's
dirt.
badass,
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
Take it. Take that.
So it's interesting. I mean, I'm going to ask a follow-up question for both of you. So from the perspective of, say you're a low-income family, maybe you are the parent of a student with an IEP or even a 504, right, that requires special support and services. What are some of the, like, even if this program were to be made available to you, what kinds of barriers do you think would still exist for low-income families, or families with students that have, diverse needs, still face, because this is just really just money, right? It doesn't change
Well,
anything in the private school system.
I think the worry is you have what's called like an unfunded mandate. So federal funding, Title One, right? For our audience, Title One
Mm-hmm.
funding is federal funding that comes in for at-risk low-income kids. EPLA gets a good chunk of it. There's all these rules with Title One, which is fine. We follow them all, but it's extremely helpful funding. What if that's all gone? Because we don't know right now whether or not that funding is going to be there. And I'm getting to your
Mm-hmm.
point, David, for sure. Idea B is that funding for SPED. That's also kind of coming from, not kind of, that's coming federal government, because special education is a federal mandate.
Yep.
What I'm hearing, what I'm getting, and maybe you gentlemen can help me if I'm wrong here, is that those funding sources may or may not be gone. Therefore, that's an unfunded mandate. Therefore, it gives public schools just to kind of go ahead to do whatever they want. Now, here's the fun thing. Private schools, if they accept any idea B money, federal money for special ed, must be beholden to the law. They often don't, but they don't have to be beholden to the law, because we said on the last show, it often takes a lot more money to provide those interventions for those students
Exactly.
than we get.
Yep.
So I think what you're seeing here is dismantling those level of services for low-income kids and for SPED kids on purpose. And really what you're doing here is funding those who are savvy enough to navigate a very complex tax structure to send their kids to private school. And like, this is just base economics. I think it's not I think it's not surprising to people in this audience, but I think it's surprising when I talk out in public. I'm a massive public school fan, but I'm a huge school choice fan. I want to empower parents to do what they need to do, but this is not
Mm-hmm.
the empowerment of parents. It's under the guise of empowering parents, because only parents with a savvy tax person and lawyer, I think, are
It's
going to be empowered to do it, unless they got a Dr.
yeah.
Charles Cole or a David Castillo in their community, man.
It's such a great argument, because then if you argue against any part of this program, then you're all of a sudden cast as like being anti-parent rights, anti-choice,
Yeah,
school
and they did that
choice.
on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, you need
I think
safety.
they did that on purpose, man.
Yeah, I think you need safety nets. I think my plan, and this is just, hopefully I'm not jumping too far ahead, but my plan is, in these parent trainings that I do, I'm gonna now write a section. Now that AI exists, it's gonna be like, hey, I need you to build a profile in one of these AI things, like whether it's ChatGPT or whatever, but like talk about like your income level, kind of where you are. And then I need to teach you how to put these bills or these as they come to your state and this has specific rules. Like I'm gonna need you to drop that whole thing in there and let's figure out a plan and ways and step by step for you to be able to take advantage of it. Like we have to start preparing people like to utilize the new tools of the day. Ignorance
Mm-hmm.
will not be it won't be rationale enough for these people to not take advantage of you, to not be able to get these things. And again, that's not going to save everybody, that's not going to help everyone, but I got to help as many as I can, right? Like I got to figure out, like, these are very convoluted, confusing things. There are teams of lawyers, teams of researchers that put these things together and that they built out for a long time. It's not built for you to understand. It's
Yeah.
it's not in that way, and we got to figure out ways to help our people. And so, again, I didn't mean to jump in there, David. I'm just trying to, for myself, because I know I can really bitch about this and be upset and have all these thoughts and feelings, but like, what's going to be the solution that's going to actually help people? And I might
Yeah.
not be able to help everybody, but whether it's 5 or 5,000 or 5 million, then I got to do what I can do.
Yeah. I mean, these things, yeah, you're right. These things are going to, like, this is happening, right? It's going to happen. So now how do you prepare for it? But I do want to talk about the optics of this for a second, and then we'll get back on track. It's interesting because I think the next day or the day, 2 days after this bill gets signed by Trump, the same people that have been the main players behind this bill, what's their next campaign? They want to have the charter of the National Education Association revoked,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's like, okay, now we did the school
You trying
choice
to get
thing.
rid of the NEA?
Yes, dude. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Oh
the next thing is
shit! I
like,
didn't know
You,
that.
you thought he was stopping at
yeah, man,
Colbert?
something
What you mean?
literally in DC. They're just like, next campaign, and they're ready for it. Um, and so it for for me, I'm like, okay, I think the intentions are pretty clear here. I do think it's maybe we can talk about this for a second. Is you have an entity like the NEA. Like I believe in school choice. I believe a lot more in the idea of public school choice.
Mm.
I do believe in universal school choice, but with accountability. I think the challenge for me and the moral kind of challenge that I find myself in is like organizations like the NEA, people like Diane Ravitch, you know, uh,
Becky.
even Becky Pringle, and so many others, right? Have spent so much time and years and decades attacking public charter schools, right? And so now there's this big backlash, and they're just like, well, where are our allies at? So when we could have been building a movement, a
Yeah,
public school choice movement between public district education and public charter education
yeah,
sectors, um, like that just never happened because of the constant attacks. And now the attacks, and they ain't coming from charter schools; they're coming from, the Trump camp and these people, and now they're looking for allies, and they're just like, well, it ain't me.
I mean,
yeah.
yeah. Go ahead, Omar.
No, I mean, I didn't know that they were going after the NEA. They're
Oh,
probably going to go after
absolutely.
like, you know, what's the other one? Is it teachers, NEA, and forget the
NEA
other one.
and AFT.
Mhm.
AFT, thank you, the American
Yeah.
Federation of Teachers. Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, they're next for
I
sure. Yeah,
like,
I'm sure.
man, like it's it's sad because I'm with you. It's a despondent organization that felt, and this was my beef with them, even when I had conversations with them, um, high level conversations with leadership. I'm like, what's your end game here? Like if you keep bullying and trying to monopolize everything, I think you're creating enemies where you don't want them to, and you're pissing people off. And I just think that everyone thought like, well, what's anyone gonna do? Like Nixon couldn't do it, Reagan couldn't do it, and all of a sudden, this is coming like a fucking bulldozer.
Hmm.
And really, again, like the Supreme Court was usually, the buffer between such things happening. People are like, well, this is unconstitutional. This will never happen. And like, well, so much for that. So much for the social contract component. So forget about just the NEA, forget about just the AFT. I see the whole structure beginning to kind of crumble because if these things become unfunded, what then happens, man? Like what then happens? I have no idea. And if private schools take on this proliferated sense of, like Texas passing vouchers and the national government funding such private entities, like, are we in for something way bigger than a debate? Are we in for like a cataclysmic just implosion of a system? Implosion, explosion.
I
Yeah.
Is it
mean,
going out? Is it going in?
I agree. I mean, listen, man, we are in existential crisis mode, and I think that some of this stuff we've kind of made beds and need to kind of lie in it. I think that AFT and NEA, I think um, they were more concerned for a long time with dues than they were about actually educating people and building a coalition of people and of like what this choice thing could look like. I think a lot of people don't see them as good faith actors in a lot of different ways. And what I mean by that is for one day on Monday, charter schools are evil, this, that, and the third. Then that charter, like in a few half, becomes unionized. And no, that now that charter is no longer evil, but the rest of them
Oh my
are, right?
goodness.
Like
Yeah.
things of
Even
that
though,
nature.
yeah.
Right, right. And I think that some of those practices, like you could have been building good faith, you could have been focusing on outcomes, you could have been uh, building this up. Don't be a friend before you need a friend. I've been someone who has said for the longest there should be that
It's a good ass quote.
black teachers should have made a black teachers union. They should have made a brown teachers union. They should have made a gay teachers union. You should have built a bunch of these things because when you have a head, it's easy to take out the head of a snake. The reason why,
Mm.
after 9/11 and Al Qaeda was so tough to kind of, stomp that out is because they were cell units. They weren't just like a leader. You can take out a leader, it's hard to kill a movement. I think so there's that. Now, I think that they should absolutely be able to operate. You need unions. There should be a right to assemble and fight and collectively bargain and have some type of power apparatus. But sometimes when you get too drunk on your own power, and you saw this coming, like I just you had to
I
see
think you
these
saw
things.
it.
You had to see it coming. I mean, they had to see it coming. Like Charles was not, and Omar and David are not the only people that saw this coming. Like this man told you what he wanted to do. His team
Yeah.
told you what they wanted to do. They're not, and they just know we live in a time where people like to talk and get clicks, but they're not putting in the work to stop or prepare. We live in a time that don't deal with bullies no more, so they don't know what to do when one shows up. We deal with a time where people not used to getting punched. Like when you punch somebody and they punch you back, we are in a fight. There's a fight, and people need to understand. Enemy of my enemy is my friend type things in these moments. Like somebody has to, but because of social media, because of the times, because we've watered down everything, it's left us vulnerable in a way that's going to make it very difficult to fight. And even a half-cocked plan that's being executed now is able to run the way that it is, and people are capitulating. CBS capitulated to Donald Trump. They did it. Like Colbert was the number one late night show, and again, late night as a whole is in trouble. But you can't say, well, for financial reasons we're caught. No, because Trump said, because y'all want this merger to go through, and you need my FEC, you need my federal agency to help your $1 billion merger go through. I don't like that dude. Get him up out of here. He is in his element. He is able to will and deal with leverage, and people are capitulating.
We got one more question to get to. I think we'll get to it. And I'm not going to take us on a detour, but I'm going to take us on a slight detour.
Man, why don't you take us on a fantastic ride?
And
fantastic. How about a fantastic voyage?
Nicole said, but wasn't there a Black Teachers Union that got engulfed by the NEA?
Yeah, I think there was.
But if there was, If it got engulfed, then there's not. The same way BET used to be black owned, and then they sold to Viacom. And there's no more black owned major, joint like that. I'm sorry. Go ahead,
Yeah.
David.
No, it's okay. I mean,
I
weren't
agree
there?
with her, but yeah.
There and I never listened to the Joe Rogan podcast, but I did listen to one of his recent episodes. It's interesting. He's an interesting guy. Like sometimes they're just on there, just getting loaded and talking about really ridiculous things. But he had James Tallarico. You know this guy, Omar, right? Texas.
Do I?
He's a Texas state representative.
Oh, okay.
And he's a very interesting. He was a former educator. He taught middle school. I think he's based out of either Austin or San Antonio. And he was on a recent Rogan podcast because he's a Democrat. He's a Christian, right? I'm Catholic or Christian, I'm not sure. And they talked about a whole host of issues of like what it's like being a Democratic, legislator in the state of Texas. He's at the state level, he's not at the national level. And it's very interesting. Like he's definitely a man of faith. And he's an educator, so he sees the world through a certain lens. And there was
Yeah, he's been all over the reels and memes this year during the legislative session. So I just needed to see a picture of him, and I'm like, yeah, I know this dude, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, so he so they were talking about like some of his early attempts to, well, they were talking about like what we're talking about, like how like we can talk about the school choice portion of the big beautiful bill, and we can either be for it or we can hate it, but there's always a middle ground. And so he, as an individual, one of his, I think, first pieces of legislation, which for him made sense because he's like family student oriented, was to allow homeschool students in the state of Texas to participate in high school athletics, right?
Yep.
And it's not a very like democratic position, but it was a way for him to work across the aisle, right? Because he's like, I don't think about things in terms of like Democrat, Republican, left and right. I think about like what's good for kids, what's good for families. I'm a politician. And I have to think of what's in the best interest of the people that I represent, right? So if you have time, I think it's a fascinating Joe Rogan podcast that you should probably listen to. But it gets me coming back to thinking about this this bill. I don't think this big beautiful bill and the school choice components of it were a result of like a grassroots movement. I don't think so. I think it probably happened in some grass tops think tank somewhere, probably in Manhattan. But it's here, it's coming, right? Like Charles says, like we have to like plan for it. So now, if you're thinking about things at the state level, this thing's coming down. We know it's coming. Like, what are some guardrails? And I don't even know if you can if the states can modify it or put guardrails in place. But if you could, like, what would be some guardrails that you would put in place if you were, the governor or leading the legislature of a state or an education leader, right? It's definitely coming to Texas. You know that. So what kinds of things about oversight, eligibility, public reporting, would you consider adding on?
I mean, I think you just got it started with what we were just talking about. So if this were me, because this is not what's going to happen in the state of Texas, I think what's going to happen is the exact opposite. But if it were me, I would put the same levels of protection on funding low income kids, on making sure that resources go to low income students, regardless of what school they choose to go to special education students as well. But I'd also hold private schools accountable. If you're going to receive federal money and you're going to receive taxpayer money into a private institution, there are certain regulations that you're going to need to follow. You don't want to receive that money? Great. You don't need to follow the regulations. You want to receive it? Great. There are restrictions on how you can use this money in order to ensure that you're actually using it for kids instead of, I don't know, buying a statue to venerate some some pastor that long ago existed with a Confederate name. So not that far fetched, by the way. I think that's just the beginning. It's a start. I'm interested to see what California does. I think Gavin Newsom is
Don't
absolutely
hold your
positing
breath, man.
himself. Well, it's not so much the holding the breath, but like Gavin Newsom's running for president. And
Yeah.
as Gavin continues to run, he's going to do things in order to put himself into the national spotlight that are going to be probably quite controversial. More controversial, the more spotlighty it's going to be. I get the feeling he's going to really dig into that. So I'm interested to see what they do. But at the end of the day, like that's all hypothetical and it's all theoretical. Like this
Mhm.
guy is going after everybody with a pinchy bulldozer. You try to put up some guardrails and it's going to be like, cool. Like, what are we going to do? Run you over, give you no money, destroy this account, destroy this account. I think California is one of those places that has the luxury of being like, cool, we don't need to give you any money. What happens when California stops giving the federal government any money?
Yeah.
That's going to be an interesting war.
It's the fourth
What
largest
that
economy in
what
the world. Sorry, Japan.
Yeah,
We just
yeah.
crossed Japan. Yeah.
Yeah, like what happens then? Like Gavin Newsom has been very outspoken that the California economy puts more money into the United States than the United States gives California.
A
It
lot
is
more.
absolutely a contributor to the economy. It's the biggest economy in the country. And it's got more. I mean, Gavin's not wrong about all the statistics they're talking about. People think that Texas has all these corporations. Texas is getting a couple of them, but California, like what, dude? Like Silicon Valley? I was at Stanford, bro. Like we invented all that shit. And by we, I mean like Silicon Valley.
Mhm.
That shit is all Silicon Valley, dude. And most major corporations are still quartered in California, not just because of quality of life, but because of like air travel, coastals, the fact that your harbors are in Long Beach and in Seattle. I mean, there's a ton of economic reasons that you're getting them there. And the infrastructure isn't necessarily set up for other places. So I'm going to be interested to see if California puts up a very large scale fight to see, like, all right, cool, you don't want to fund us. We're not going to fund you. And now we're going to be at this like very interesting stalemate. But that's
Yeah.
at least what I would do.
Yeah,
Doc, what do you think?
I don't know about guardrails. I mean, I'm trying to think. I was thinking about it while you were talking, and even when you said the question. But I will say this: if you a person that believe in values, this is when you need to start standing on said values. Values aren't for times that are comfortable. It's not for when you just win. It's for when you're being tested and what you're willing to do. So when the New York Times or CBS are supposed to be the fourth estate or are supposed to be holding up this journalistic integrity and you
Mm,
capitulate,
mm,
it's over. Like it's over.
mm.
Like this is the time when those things happen. And kudos to Jon Stewart, man. I mean,
Yeah,
kudos if you saw him
yeah, that's
kind of
cool.
like be like, yo, they just silenced him. I'm probably next. And
Yeah,
you can go fuck yourself, man. Like I
yeah.
gotta hold this the same way I left Apple when Apple wanted to censor me. I think
Hmm.
so not to I'm not trying to squirrel away from the question, David, but what I think is if you're a state and your values are to make sure that those that are least protected remain protected, then you need to start bringing in some of those smart people in the room, some of your best economists, and starting to and your best lawyers. And what are the ways? Here's our slew of lawsuits that are ready. Here are
Hmm.
slew of stays. Here are a slew of funds that we're putting over here. Here's what we're going to do. If you are somebody that believes in freedom of speech and not, in the separation of church and state, then you got to really be willing to die for this stuff. Like there were wars that were fought and they weren't fought for easy times. This is all of this stuff. This is like going on a date and party one is asking questions to party two just to kind of see what can happen here. You know what I'm saying? Like what
Mm.
and
Mhm.
this is all like, are they gonna fight back? Are they gonna say no? Are they gonna say anything about us firing Colbert? Are they gonna be? We're gonna sneak in this legislation to see if we can use public dollars to fund this religious school. Wait, they didn't yell as loud this time. They didn't yell as loud this time.
Mm.
Who can I pay off over here? And
Yeah,
again,
right.
I'm not mad at the devil for being the devil. He's the fucking devil. It's not, that's not the problem. And again, there's a lot of people that are very comfortable on our side. They make a lot of money on our side. But you're seeing that they're going to be really loud. But this is now where you start checking people's jackets and what they are doing. I don't always
Yeah.
love Gavin Newsom, and David doesn't either. And but I will say this.
I'm
Here's what I
starting to
do.
like him more.
Here's what I believe in about Gavin Newsom, the same way I believe about Donald Trump. I believe that they're very savvy and they protect their status in life. And I think that Gavin Newsom knows that his best position is directly opposite and
Mm,
opposed to Donald Trump in this moment. I
mm,
believe that Gavin Newsom believes he is a Kennedy at heart. He believes that he is destined to be this great presidential leader. And because of that, even if he doesn't believe it himself, I think he will continue to position himself and
mm,
utilize California as a large, not pawn, not bishop, but a queen in this chess game. And I think we
mm.
are about to see something hit ahead. But what I ask to other states and other leaders and other people in these positions of power right now, are
Yeah.
you ready to fight? And
Yeah.
what does that look like? Because people will remember this administration, although they will try, will not be in power forever. So how you set up the board now will impact when the next election comes around. Stop capitulating to your values, and if you have, now's the time to repent and stand up. And you might have to be some sacrificing, but that's where I'm at, David. I want to see who's going to hold still. What I'm going to
Yeah.
do is I'm going to use every bit of my education, every bit of my access, every bit of my knowledge, whether it's about AI or education policy or going into churches and knowing how to talk to these moms and these grandmothers. And I'm going to equip them the best way I can. And we're going to lose a lot of people. A lot of people are going to be punished. A lot of people like us are going to get lost in the sauce, and there's going to be a
Mm.
lot of casualties. But fuck it, like who going to be the generals and the warriors at this time? And I say this to
Yeah.
somebody, they coming for me. They're here. My organization is already at its linchpin. It is so difficult to get more funding. I have a staff that I'm trying to protect. I have my own funds that I'm trying to protect as far as this student loan business is concerned. And I'm gonna take some fucking hits. So it's like I'm not saying this is somebody that's comfortable. Like I know what's coming, and how we stand up and fight is not what defines us or how we go on with a black eye tomorrow. But it's like, what is our legacy gonna be moving along? So
Yeah.
that's all I got, bruh.
Yeah. All right. Well, the two of you are very philosophical in your responses. I'm going to be a little more like tactical
Yeah.
and practical. So, and again, I don't know if like I don't know what is written into the bill. Like, I don't know if any modifications can be made to it. But let's say in a world where states could adopt and make modifications, right? I would make sure that there are clauses that protect, things like transportation. So when we talk about private school, attendance, we're generally not talking about the neighborhood school. So like if there's funding, there should be some amount of funding that is there to provide for students. Talking about students that might attend Title I schools to attend a private school of their choice. So, are there protections for transportation? Number two, thinking about things like due process for students, right? Always thinking about like discipline, students with IEPs. Omar talked about this earlier, but is there a world where states could require that schools that participate in these programs adopt a basic student rights protection? Non-discrimination, appeals for discipline, and clarity on special education services, right? These are things that private schools don't necessarily do or do well, right? Or not very transparent about. I think number three is, some kind of requirement for annual reporting. We talk about it a lot on the show. So if we're going to be using some kind of a federal lever to, provide private education for students, there should be a requirement for annual reporting, like disaggregated data by race, income, disability, zip code, enrollment, retention, graduation, outcomes, all of those things. So we can see if this program is actually, doing what it's intended to do. And there are a couple of other points, but I think, in a perfect world, like if these things were built into it, if they were caked into this bill, I probably would be, more likely to sign off on it. I don't know if those things are there. They probably aren't. So
Man, you know that shit ain't there.
I don't. Well, I'm wishful thinking,
Oh
man.
man,
I mean, yeah,
this
I
ain't
like
no
what you
Stone
said,
Cold
man.
Groove, my man.
I
Yeah,
mean, but that's what I'm saying, man. Like, and listen again, like these people, like Donald Trump is a force unto himself, but the people that he's partnered with, like these are state rights. Listen, bro, these are state rights fundamentalists that know to keep their mouth shut right now, and are getting this thing to the area that in which they want to get it to. And again, man, these people are playing chess. I mean, and they got their buffoon at the front, doing their
yeah.
bidding. I think it's gonna be some shit that's
It
gonna end up
feels like
hitting that he's not
they're
even gonna be
playing
aware of.
they're playing
Yeah.
4D chess, and the Democrats are playing 2D checkers, right?
Yeah, because
Mhm.
real true power doesn't plan for 4 years. They plan for
Right.
400 years. Like,
Yeah,
so you have to think in that way. And I listen, man, it's gonna
crazy.
be interesting. You're gonna see the map start to shift. It's gonna be a very north-south type of entity of like, oh, here are these states that have these laws, here are these states that don't, here's the people in the middle. It's gonna be really interesting, man, as far as demographics. California has not helped in some ways because all these places, and I know this is because I study black shit, all the pockets of black populations in California have been broken up. They've been gentrified. They've been moved. So where you might have had a strong political black
Mm.
hole in West
Redlined.
Oakland, yeah, it's even worse than Redline in this sense though, because
Yeah,
like where West Oakland used to be this black haven, there's not a concentration of black votes, and they don't have to redline it no more because you've already kind of scattered these people out. Charles Blow wrote this book, and it was basically his thesis is telling black people to go back to the South. Oh, sorry. Oh, well, I'll see. I don't know. We
I'm
need to
just
get
looking
on.
at Bill's comment.
I thought you. I don't know if I trust AOC like that either. But I think, but Charles Blow's theory is trying to push black people to go back to the South, where there is this concentration of
Mhm.
black people,
Right.
or whatever the case is, where and it's because of things like this where you can have some kind of political stronghold. But bro, I'm in Dalton, Illinois, where it's all black. It used to be white and Irish and Italian. I'm from now. The Pope is from the town that I live in now, and
Mm.
but we our shit ain't together here. You know what I'm saying? So you got to have some kind of play, some kind of plan, and you got to try to get people on one accord. But we're so individualized right now that if you're gonna make these kind of moves, there's not been a time more perfect than 2025.
That's right. Oh, all right.
We're at
We
the
are
end
at
of the show,
time.
man.
Depressing ass show, David.
No, we're dealing with
I'm
reality,
teasing,
man.
man.
We're
I'm
dealing
teasing.
with reality and
It
what's coming.
is.
It could have been a lot more depressing. We could have talked about a whole bunch of other things,
I
but
know.
Yay.
I mean, I think, at the end of the day, I'm going to try and find some positive in what happens with this program, and like you said, there are certain states it's probably not even going to matter in California, right? But in other states it will, and maybe we can learn some things from it when it happens, because it's going to happen. It's not a theoretical thing. And so I've also spent some time listening to. I don't want to go down this like Gavin. This is my closing thought, and then you
Okay.
guys can go for a minute. It's interesting because I think I texted you all a while back when Gavin Newsom launched his podcast, his first episode. He had Charlie Kirk on, I think, and I was like, wow, this is crazy hearing these two guys talk. And he had Steve Bannon on. He's had all these other people on. He had Newt Gingrich on. And I'm listening. I've gotten kind of in this algorithm of certain podcasts where people from the so-called progressive left and the far right are talking with each other, trying to find common ground. And so I still have hope, regardless of whatever Trump decides to do, that at the end of the day, people are going to find common ground on issues that matter to their kids, to their families, and their communities. And a lot of those are like local solutions, right? And so, I think things definitely get very politicized. Now they're attacking the national teachers unions. I don't support that at all. But what are you going to do? you can't walk away from the table, right? You just got to like understand what's going on, and you got to prepare for it, whether it's in your personal life or in your work life or whatever it is. So, yeah, that's what I got to say. And I did learn an interesting factoid about Gavin Newsom. He was on the Sean Ryan show. I don't know if you guys know Sean Ryan. Did like a 3-hour podcast with this guy. He's a former Navy SEAL, and big gun rights guy. Apparently, Gavin Newsom's father was kind of in and out of his life. He had participated in these early trials of LSD experiments at Stanford University back in the day. So I think that we might be finding out a little bit more about what drives Gavin Newsom or what's in his brain.
Yeah, that's good times. Good times with Dr. Zimbardo, man. Yeah, no, we're already at time. So I think just the quick closing thought is a bit of a repetition of what was said and what Doc's saying, which is essentially like, hey, man, this was what people decided to vote for. And we are going to have to hunker down and deal with the ramifications of this for the next 2, 3, 4, who knows how many years as this like it decides to perpetuate itself. But there was this really interesting movement in 1992 and a really interesting movement in 2008. And in 1992, everyone was like, how could this happen? Like the Republican stronghold absolutely destroyed, Bill Clinton coming in out of nowhere. And the Clinton disaster and scandal led to the demise of the Democratic Party again. And after the Bush disaster, I think people got extraordinarily not only organized, but Newt Gingrich, Contract for America, 1996. Doc's right. They have been planning this shit for a very long time. They've been planning this shit since Nixon. And I think they were like, hey, let's stop going after the presidency. How are we absolutely destroying pockets of power in communities, destroying community activation organizations? Hell, man, like it's not far-fetched my ass. Like FBI was directly involved in the execution of Martin Luther King, of the chairman, right, man? Chairman, not Huey Newton, but
Fred Hampton.
Fred Hampton. Thank you very much, man. Yeah. I'm like, how is this not far-fetched? So we better buckle down because I think we keep thinking that something is going to happen and that Superman's going to come save us. And I'm like, maybe we need to get with the smartest minds, and maybe we are the smartest minds to get in there and be like, what's our plan for the next 400 years to help humanity?
Man, my final thought is I echo everything you all said. Love to our matriarch of the show couldn't be with us today and couldn't make us check in, but we did. I will say I thought of her because what I'm about to say, because she would probably not disagree, but to ask me to tap into us. We got to stop being just emotional. Like we have to stop this shit. I know we're in a different time and feelings, and like use them, feel what you need to feel, but like action should be behind it. Like I'm sick of this. Nobody give a fuck how you feel. Nobody cares that you feel however you feel. Power does not care, and power doesn't seed itself. And you have to be smart. And they wait for you to be emotional because the people that wrote that stuff, which we've probably rubbed elbows with or been around with or whatever in some form or fashion, they're not just out spewing their feelings. They got people that's doing that because you got to attack things on multiple levels. But somebody is clear-eyed and running a chessboard and like, oh, that didn't work? Okay, we're going to do this. All right, that didn't work. We're going to do this. And they are negotiating with people who might have been enemies yesterday, but now know that strategically I need this person. So again, I've served under California's Democratic Party. I've been as vice chair of Young Black Dems for X amount of years. And I left for the reasons that I left. I didn't leave the party, but I left leadership. But I also understand that if Gavin is a good chance and a good warrior to get what I need, then you do that. But you go to the table clear-eyed. And just because you're partnering with somebody today doesn't mean that you got to be friends with them tomorrow. And I just think that we have to become strategic again. I don't know why the tail has been wagging the dog, but damn it, I need the dog to wake up. Where's that dog in you? And right now, I'm speaking to the poor people. I'm speaking to people that were poor. I'm speaking to our generation where we started out very poor and are now got some success. I need you to really tap into that dog in you, that when you made shit work in poverty. I'm talking about when like your mother only had like $5 or $10 but fed whole families. Like you need to tap into
Yeah,
that
man.
survival
Yeah.
instinct of how to make things stretch and how to work and utilize things, because everybody's gotten fat. And there are people that are running circles around us because we don't have the fitness of body, of mind, and of spirit anymore. And we are getting what we deserve. I'm sorry. They're not right, but you're worth what you negotiate. You're worth what you accept. So what are you worth? What am I worth? And right now, I'm going to use whatever smarts and expertise I have to help my people. But I got to get back in shape myself, because there's a fight coming. And the weak will get eaten up, because that's the rules of fucking nature. And we in the moment of nature.
Boom, 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 boom. Wow. Was that prepared? That was not prepared.
It was not.
It just came from your
It's
heart.
not at all.
Yeah, that was great, man.
Maybe I should clip that though, since you asked about
Yeah, it's up there. Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, we're going to end it. So thank you everybody for showing up today in the comments. South Star Classroom, episode 196. We miss you, Jubilee. We hope you're back next week. And thanks everybody for joining us, and take care.
All right, man. Peace out.
Peace.
Great show.
Yeah.